help us with a kind of a long list of projects that we had going on at the time. We are still asking for $60,000, but keep in mind this is only just a portion of the overall demolition budget. From CDBG, from the 23 cycle, which is money that we haven't spent, we have about $97,000 specifically for demolition that we're also going to be able to use. And as we move forward, we're hoping in April we're going to hear about the 2024 CDBG funds, which we're going to add even more into that demolition pot. There's also some additional funds that the building department has available for emergency demos and things like that. But from speaking with Stacy Carr, strategic planner who handles the demolitions, this was a number that she was comfortable with based on all the other pots of money we're incorporating.
Councilman Heidi, so budget total, $206,000. So 96,000, 97,000 that he had talked about from CDBG, planning 60,000 that he just went over, 20,000 in building, which is more of an emergency, but it's there. Rental registration, we took 10 grand out of that, so it's got to be used on a rental, to project impact. So project impact now has 20 grand, 30 grand, I'm sorry, 30 grand with the transfer from rental to project impact. So total of 206,000.
Hey, you reading my mind over there?
You said you had some comments.
We know you love demos, Mr. Hay.
He knows what questions I'm coming with.
And our other big changes specifically for the Arts and Entertainment District. As you know, now that we have our Main Street organization that's up and fully operational, we know that we're going to have a lot more projects coming down the pipeline, some of which would include installing parklets on 2nd and Tusk. We're looking at doing festoon lighting for 2nd Street. This is part of the fund that will help pay a little bit for our Main Street director. We are committed as a city for 3 years. This is year 2 of our commitment to help until they're fully able to fund themselves through their different programs. And then we're also looking just to do some more beautification, whether that's banners. We're looking at different planters and flower options. We keep hearing from different folks that we want more outdoor seating opportunities of some kind. That's where the parklets come in, but that also might allow us for the opportunity to take advantage of Block 7 itself and do some adjustments or enhancements just to make it so that we can take advantage of the Dora and just have more outdoor options. So a lot of this is we're kind of learning the projects as we go with the arts and entertainment, but we want to be prepared for them because we know that Main Street is moving pretty quickly with all of their different committees, and we're looking to do a lot more of an investment in the downtown. If there are any questions on any of these, I'm happy to answer.
How much we putting in for Main Street? You said the city was for 3 years.
Right. So it's $50,000 annually. Only a portion is going to be coming out of planning. I believe $40,000 we're contributing from planning,
$10,000 from the gas and oil fund we went over a few weeks ago.
and then the Barberton Community Foundation also pays $50,000. So that's to keep them up and operational until they're able to be established enough that they can fund themselves, independent of the city.
How do we pay for Insight and the other economic development consults?
Right. So that's coming out of our professional service. The reason that we have our economic development consultants is because you got to remember, as planning, we're kind of unique in Barberton. Most cities, there is a planning and community development, and then there's an economic development department. Everything is housed under me in this. So I do zoning, planning, community development, and economic development. So where we see the benefit from from our different consultants, we have one group who is it's a group of attorneys who do put together our contracts and help us with the TIF setups and help us with the CRAs. Then Insight are more of our boots on the ground kind of folks. They're the ones who will advocate for us at the state level, but they're also the ones who always keep up to date on, say, the different programs that Ohio Means Jobs or what Team NEO is doing, so that we can bring in additional outside dollars. And also with, I guess, Insight, for the amount that we pay them, that also allows us to have 3 professional economic development specialists to help us as opposed to just one person. So they've, even as recently as the past week or two, based on their connections with the electric company, one of our businesses that's looking to do a major expansion and needs this electricity in order to get this massive piece of AI machinery or whatever they're doing, this automated piece of machinery, they didn't have enough electricity to do it. They were giving nowhere with the electric company. Insight had a person on the inside who knew someone, was able to get them what they needed immediately. So that's going to help bring in jobs. So because I'm stretched across so many different and have so many different projects kind of happening simultaneously, this gives us an opportunity to have people who are advocating specifically in economic development all the time on behalf of the city.
I've looked at the invoices from Insight. It's $3,500 a month. Is that a guaranteed rate, or, I mean, can they do like little this month and maybe a little bit more this month and still get $3,500?
No, I'd say, well, I'd say on a,
Yeah, I mean, we meet at least weekly with them, sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. So to say that they do a little more one week versus another week, possibly, but we do meet with them at least once a week, but typically it's twice a week on things going on. We have a standing meeting with them on a weekly basis.
and then we also have, we've been ramping up on, they've been organizing on our behalf. We really try and meet with all the local businesses here in Barberton, just to see how we can help them sleep a little bit better at night. They arrange all of those. So we're average probably 1 or 2 business visits a week at this point. And we're looking to ramp that up in April as well. So that really helps, what's giving them heartburn, just so they know that the city is there, we will help them any way we can. That gives us an opportunity to talk about some of the CDBG economic development opportunities out there, or some of the new Ohio Wings job programs, just so they're aware, because they're busy as well. They don't know all the funds that are out there that we can bring in for them.
Thank you.
When Insight goes to them, first off, is that a retainer, or is that that amount fluctuate, that 3,500 that Mr. Harris was talking about?
It's
Retainer fee or actual invoice?
It's about $50,000 a year.
Okay. Well, there's things on it that, like meetings with the Barberton Community Foundation.
So
I'm asking if it's a retainer, or are we paying for them to meet with the Barberton Community Foundation?
So it is kind of flat fee. They typically charge us $3,500 a month.
Yeah.
They're only meeting with the foundation if it has to deal with economic development
Sure.
activities.
Okay. And secondly, when the Insights go into these businesses, are they branding themselves as Barberton, or are they going in as a third party? It means a lot if the city's going in to talk to these businesses, not some third party.
No, they say that they are representatives on behalf
Okay.
of the city of Barberton. Typically, when they arrange these business visits, either myself or the mayor or both of us are also in attendance. So really,
Okay.
but they bring themselves as being part of Barberton, our economic development wing.
Great. Thank you.
If anyone has any questions, just feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borsler.
That's all we had planned for tonight. I know utilities is a lot of fun, but I said to just say 2 topics. If we can, I received a question from Councilwoman Gearhart. We can address that now.
Yeah,
Is that? So
I'll allow it.
So Councilman Gearhart said, asked a question on page 21, $6 million miscellaneous from the general fund, the committed funds, capital expenditures. So that's earmarked for the city/justice building. So she wanted me to explain lost revenue. So and Mr. Flaker can correct me where I'm wrong, fill in the gaps. I'm going to try my best here. It's been a while since, even though COVID was just around the corner, there's so much that goes on. So the federal government came out and said, if you have more than $10 million in your allocation, you can take up to $10 million as lost revenue. Anything over $10 million, through ARPA. Very similar to that.
Kind of. So what the federal government said, so one of the things that you could use ARPA funds for is revenue loss, because they were anticipating a lot of these cities to lose out on revenue due to COVID. So they implemented that you could use ARPA funds for revenue loss. So you could take up to 10 million. So you didn't need an allocation of over 10 million. You could have an allocation of 2 million from the federal government and claim that whole 2 million as lost revenue. You were just capped at 10 million. So since we had 16 million, we were capped at 10 million that we could take as revenue loss, which I think we claimed about 9.7 million in revenue loss altogether, which became quote unquote lost revenue committed funds. I tell people those committed funds in the general fund, don't call them ARPA funds, please don't. They're 2 separate things to me now. completely different. Because that's money in the general fund. We have outlined in, what was it, an ordinance from 22 on the council put restrictions on it back in 22 of what those funds could be used for. So those are those funds. They're separate from ARPA completely. Why they did derive from ARPA, they're no longer ARPA funds. They're city funds at this point in time.
But the definition of committed is not committed to that project. Now, we've committed them to the project, but in the budget, it's committed to be used in a certain way. So the next question said, if they're not used for the Justice Center for some reason, can they be used for water lines? Yes,
Okay.
because water lines are.
Like if we had an emergency or something happen that's not, has to be for the First Merit building, it could be used for the emergency? Okay.
Yeah, as long as it falls within that criteria that was passed in 22 on the restrictions, that's the only criteria that we really need to follow.
Do you know what the ordinance was in 2022?
68-2022.
'There we go.
68, 2022. Thank you.
Perfect.
I know the appropriation ones are like 105 and 106 or something. So I just couldn't remember the restriction one. So then, another
question was on page 25 at the bottom. The ARPA fund, roughly just under $270,000.
So those are true ARPA funds left. These are the ARPA funds that we need to obligate by the end of this year, or we have to send them back to the federal government. So we do have to figure out what are we going to use these funds on. I know the mayor and I will get together and we'll try to discuss some scenarios on what to use these funds for, but we do have to come up with a game plan for these funds to get them obligated by the end of this year, or else I have to send the money back to the federal government. We don't want to do that, so we'll try to come up with some sort of idea. Now those requirements, there are like 3 categories that can be used for. I'm going to try to remember them from a few years back, but one of them is like to restore conditions back to pre-COVID times, to help those industries or whatnot. Really, that was more for like the travel industry, the hotel industry. That was what those funds were truly for. So that's kind of out of the question there. Another area was premium pay, which we did use ARPA funds for premium pay. Revenue loss, which we already took our full allotment of revenue loss money, so we can't use it for that. Water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. Now, I say that, it can't just be used for water lines wherever. We have to watch if we're going to use it on water lines. We have to make sure we're following all the criteria outlined by the federal government, because even though it seems kind of broad, they put a lot of restrictions in on this stuff. So it's not, I have to go through all the check boxes to make sure it meets all their criteria. A lot of it has to deal with being in low, moderate income areas. Part of the reason why we're doing the big project on South Van Buren. I know a couple of the other things we used the ARPA funds on, which I sent that spreadsheet at the beginning of this year. One item was an ambulance. So maybe we look at another ambulance, because that's about what an ambulance runs. Maybe, I know we used it on a Parks Department bus to try to restore the traveling for the senior citizens to be able to get back out, that are part of the Active Adult Center, to be able so they can go out to their various field trips again. I mean, a lot of these elderly people, that's what they look forward to, that socialization. And it's good physically and mentally for them. Basically what keeps them going, a lot of them. So we use some of the ARPA funds for that. And most of those people, almost all probably in that Active Adult Center, are low to moderate income people that bus is serving. So trying to think what else we used it on. Ball field lights was revenue loss. South Van Buren project, we have the revenue loss. Premium pay. Yeah, wastewater treatment plant. So that's where a lot of the infrastructure comes in, is a lot of treatment plants. They did expand it from the original ruling to include dams. But our dams fully covered now through grants, so that's a positive. Culverts, we go through to culverts too. So yeah, why it does say infrastructure, we gotta still be careful with water lines, where we're putting up or whatnot. So, and have to mark a lot of boxes. It's not pretty when you're dealing with water. Like, why it sounds nice infrastructure, they put a lot of restrictions on it, and it's just, we have to check on a lot of boxes before we do that. So,
And
so yeah,
since-
we're still trying to come up with a game plan. I have slides of what permissible ARPA funds usages can be, so we'll discuss and come up with a game plan.
And that's what has to be used here on page 25, is the ARPA criteria. But on page 21, that's no longer ARPA,
What's page
right?
25?
That's the lost revenue.
That's the one we were talking about now.
25 is the, record
Leftover that you have to use.
Page 40, 21 is the miscellaneous, the committed funds, lost revenue.
25 is your ARPA.
Okay.
21 is your lost revenue.
What do you guys do?
You fogged my brain, man.
The ARPA fund's on page 25.
Down on the bottom?
America Rescue Plan Fund.
Is that the budget summary page?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two.
Not the exact one.
Oh, you guys are in the capital. Yeah, that's capital. It's not truly though. It is the ARPA fund, but it's not the ARPA fund.
Sorry if we confused you.
Yeah. That one has the rules you just talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
But
so
lost
those-
revenue doesn't have those
Correct.
rules anymore.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Maybe that's where the confusion, because lost revenue used to be ARPA?
Used to be ARPA, but it's
And that's-
not now. It's
right.
technically city funds.
Okay.
So yeah, they're committed though. They have to be used for a specific thing because we didn't want it to be used for wages. We wanted them to be used for projects versus being able to go towards wages.
And that's why they're called
So that's why we
committed.
committed them at that time back in 22. So they really can't be touched for wages.
That's what
Yeah.
passed through city council.
Yeah,
So that's the commitment.
that's
So not
what,
committed to a specific project per se.
Okay.
But to certain,
okay. I think that word was what was confusing me.
Yeah.
Thank you for explaining all that.
too much to put in an email.
Oh, I appreciate it, because I thought, well, maybe, if I don't understand it, somebody else might
No,
not
they were
understand
very
it.
good questions.
Okay.
Since we have Pete still here, I have a question for him. Now that I remember here. On page 22, Fund 4630. It has building improvements, equipment and furnishings, infrastructure, sidewalks. Who identifies where the money goes and, spends it that way? Like, what sidewalks get picked to be improved or whatever?
We typically partner pretty heavily with the building department, who kind of lets us know. Mike can actually probably speak a little bit better on that than I can. I'm kind of the piggy bank for the sidewalk program. We do a lot of funding with CDBG, but this is a separate pot.
Some of the sidewalk program that comes from building is if you have a bad sidewalk, you can call, get your name on the list. You'll pay 60% of the assessed cost of that bid item, and the city picks up another portion of it. Also with some of the ADA ramps that we even talked about tonight, with some of the crossings, can be identified and get into the next year's program. Some of this is matching funds for grants that we've gone after that have been identified with some of the appropriations that we can get. I think we got $700,000 coming in this year that was a previous year's grant that we need to use some matching funds of 90-10 money that we're putting in towards this project. So as we continue to identify new projects coming up, I think a letter went out earlier this week or late last week about safe routes to school. We're putting in an application for a future year project to put in sidewalks. So some of these sidewalk projects get matching funds from the city and other planning departments such as this would match to those projects.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
If there was parts of my neighborhood where there's just no sidewalk, like it was going and then it just doesn't exist anymore for sidewalks.
I didn't hear the question.
Well, like, I don't know if there's a question there. There's just parts where like there's sidewalk just stopped. Like, how do I get the sidewalk to continue? Would that be part of this program?
It can be, but the city created a travel plan that was passed by council in early 2023. And as part of that travel plan, we've been identifying different best fit grants to go after. Sometimes it's where kids walk to school. Well, there's a better way to get safe routes to school can help identify those areas where kids are walking in the street or in the grass to get to school. Other areas we can use some CDBG monies that they don't have sidewalks, that we can use the CDBG money to get areas where, you know, a form of transportation is biking or walking to certain areas, to grocery stores, to hospitals. So there's other grant monies we can target that best fit those programs that we can go after grant monies. You know, OPWC, we can go after, and again, not all of them have been identified yet, but this travel plan allows us to start targeting federal money, state monies to best fit this travel plan now and try and go after, you know, state money, federal money, and others.
Okay.
And that's the goal, is to connect everything. There's a lot of places. We're still working on 5th Street Northeast, down the street from the hospital. There's about 12 properties that there's no sidewalk.
Yeah.
2 properties there, there's no sidewalk. And so we've been working to try to get some grant money to start linking all this together.
Okay. So it wasn't just Ward
Partner with
5.
council folks, sorry, would be interested. I'd be happy to send that. It's called the Active Transportation Plan. I'd be happy to send that your way to show what's been identified.
I actually think I just sent that out with this latest request for legislation last week.
Right, I
I
was
think
gonna
with
Sent a
the
separate
streets
email
committee.
because it was such a huge file.
It's on the printer downstairs. It will be in your mailboxes tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's 98 pages. Give me-
Because I tried to download and it wouldn't download.
It's 98 pages.
It's a big one.
Wow.
Did you email that to everybody?
I
Or-
did.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I tried to download
If your
it.
email's slow, he clogged it up.
Probably what it was.
Is there any other miscellaneous discussion from my committee? Other council members? From the gallery?
Still like-
Hi, Megan Everhart. One, I want to point out a fact, and then 2, I want to follow up. So this Barberton Board of Education, this is regarding personnel and appointments to boards and commissions, gets 2 appointments to the city's Parks and Rec, and I know Parks and Rec is not on here tonight. It's my understanding in reading the minutes from the January 10th, 2024 meeting with the Barberton Board of Education that they changed one of their representatives, and I have not seen that come before council, and the city has taken it upon itself in the spring 2024 program guide that was just mailed, and putting that name and replacing the other individual, and we're publicly saying that person is on there, and it has not come before. Have you seen that request for that change in leadership to the parks?
Mr. Cheatham?
Yeah, on Parks and Rec. They canceled the last meeting to where they were gonna send that, forward to where I believe Cindy Sutton is supposed to be the representative from the school board to the Parks and
Well, so the schools passed that legislation.
No, they canceled the last meeting, and hopefully this coming meeting, we'll be able to put that on agenda to be voted on.
I have received a request or a notice from Mr. Harmden regarding that. He stated that it was not necessary for that person to come before council to be appointed. I stated it was, and I requested her to fill out the form that is on the webpage, and have received no reply from anybody at this point.
Thank you.
It will happen, though.
there any other miscellaneous discussion anywhere in the room? Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I'll
And a
second that.
Thank you. Finance and Personnel is adjourned at 8:05 PM.
All right. Well, that concludes our individual committee meetings. If there's no objections, I'd like to just roll right into the committee of the whole.
Keep
Yeah?
going.
No objections? Sure? All right. Yes, we are up. Yeah, we got sucky internet. We good? Mr. Eddie?
Is it?
You good?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right. Today is Monday, March 4th, 2024. This is Committee of the Whole meeting. I call this meeting to order at 8:06 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There were nobody for citizens? All right, there were no citizens addressing council, so we'll hop into committee reports, and we'll start with street, sidewalk, and lighting with Mrs. Beck.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, streets, sidewalks, and lighting met in Chamber Council. We didn't have any requests for legislations, nothing pending. We had one student address council, and with that, I pass.
All right, thank you, Ms. Beck. Environmental Health and Social Services, Mrs. Hager.
Thank you, Mr. President. Environmental Health and Social Services met this evening in council chambers at 6:09 p.m. All members of my committee were present. We had no request for legislation, no pending legislation. Did speak about the mosquito abatement program, and Councilwoman Thompson announced that guidelines for COVID had changed, that once a person was fever-free for 24 hours, that they were able to go out and about. And with that, we adjourned at 6:11 p.m. and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Hager. Planning and Annexation Codes, Mr. Heidick.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning and Annexation Codes is calling for the following. Legislation to enter into contract with Butcher & Sons for the 2024 residential demolition program. Emergency wording has been requested. With that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Heidick. City Properties, Park and Recreation, Mr. Cheatham.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Properties and Parks and Recreation has nothing to report. I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Cheatham. Public Welfare and Safety, Mr. Harris.
Public Welfare and Safety Committee met on February 26th, 2024, here in council chambers. We had no requests for new legislation or pending legislation, and with that, I pass.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Rules, Marketing, and Development, Ms. Gerhart.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rules, Marketing, and Development met on Monday, February 26th. Pete and I talked about an ordinance for the City of Barberton to approve the amended FY 2019 and FY 2023 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan, and we declared an emergency, and that's all. And with that, I pass.
Thank you. City Utilities, Mr. Griffin.
Thank you, Mr. President. City Utilities has nothing to report. With that, I pass.
Thank you. Finance and Personnel, Mrs. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance and Personnel met this evening at 6:15, and we are calling for legislation to approve payment to the Summit County Prosecutor's Office in the amount of $21,000 for the direct indictment program. emergency wording and one reading requested. Also legislation to pay an invoice to Rutzel in the amount of $3,333.33. Also a request for a resolution to honor the 2023-2024 Barberton boys basketball team for their great season. For pending legislation, we've got the 2024 operating and capital budget, as well as compensation and pay grades for non-bargaining employees. As far as miscellaneous goes, we had budget presentations tonight by Mr. Weaver, Mr. Shreve, and Mr. Worsler. And we also had a question about personnel from Mrs. Megan Eberhardt. We adjourned at 8:05 p.m. With that, I will pass.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. That concludes our individual committee reports. Is there anything from the body? Mr. Cheatham.
Yes, I just wanted to thank everyone during my downtime for their many thoughts, cards, especially Lori was awesome. But most of all, their prayers during this time of downtime. Thank you. And I would like to say that orange is also, because we're representing the MRDD, it's also the color for renal cell carcinoma, which I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheatham. Anything else from the body? Ms. Gearhart.
Well, we're out of department, oh, wait, there's one left. So I just wanted to thank the mayor and the department head for going through all this budget stuff with us, because I'm sure it's a lot with, we don't know a lot of these line items and the extra explanation that's going into it and stuff, so I just want to say I appreciate that.
Hey, Ms. Gearhart, is there anything else from council?
I have some questions, but I'll wait till the mayor gets up there, and because he might cover some of it.
Sure.
I
Anything?
have one thing.
Mrs. Thompson?
Sorry. Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that this will be the third year that we've done this, that I've sat on the committee for Magic's Ready to Learn, and we do have our citywide euchre tournament coming up soon. So you'll start to see things for that go out, and this goes to help pay for school supplies for every Barberton student K through 5. So that'll be coming up in April. So just wanted to put it out there.
Time flies. It feels like it was yesterday.
I know.
Wow. Is there anything else from council? I just have one thing real fast. I've talked with Ms. Gearhart, the chair of rules, and we come to the conclusion here pretty soon. We're going to close that rule deadline. Time's up for putting in rule stuff. So if you have, last minute stuff coming in, but we're going to sit down and we're going to start entertaining the rule changes and stuff for council. So I don't have anything else after that. We'll hop in over to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Rebecca, I appreciate your comments. There is a lot. You know, there's going to be a lot of questions, and even in your last year, your fourth year, we're still going to have questions because there's a lot. You have people like Mr. Weaver, who's been here about as long as I've been alive. He may go into things a little in depth, but he knows his stuff, and the EPA calls him for advice.
Wow.
So it's great the employees that we have, but I appreciate your comments, because not only is there a lot going on here, we may tag team budgets or questions together because there's a lot of background, there's a lot of things that we're working on for the future. The future may not be next month, it may be 2 years from now. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot, and all these facts coming in and out, especially with ARPA, the rules kept changing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, here's $16 million, but we're not going to tell you right now how you can spend it. I'm like, well, come on, because you have to get audited and tracking and all that. So there's a lot that goes in, so thank you. Do want to thank again Mr. Austin and his class from Barberton High School to attend this evening. He started having his class write letters to council members and myself the other year. I remember myself and former Councilwoman Joyce Coburn spent the entire day at the high school. I think we met with 8 different classes, going over questions, and a few parents actually came in, so it was great to kind of field those questions and kind of let everyone know what was going on throughout the city with their questions. Next Change for Change is Friday, March 22nd at the Civitan Club, benefiting the Barberton Band Boosters. It was brought up this evening about the MAD district. In addition to that, because Barberton and Norton are the only 2 members, we have installed and have plans to install more Purple Martin homes throughout town, mostly where there's bodies of water. So Brightenstein Park, Eisenhower Pond on Robinson Avenue, the ball fields, the sports complex. The Purple Martins, I forget what the calculation is, but like a lot, 100 times more than their body weight of mosquitoes. So if we can put these up, it's a little more natural to fend off mosquitoes near bodies of water. So just to let you know, we've had several of them up. Towards the end of last year, we ordered more, and there's really like a short window when you should put them up to actually have Purple Martins go into the homes versus other birds. So, yes.
You can also put up at houses.
We can. I think people are less afraid of
Well, if you
Purple
put
Martins.
them not
But you're
exactly
right.
in, right in like a neighborhood, but.
There's some wooded, wet areas that bat houses would be perfect.
Yeah.
And they're another one.
Oh, they'll eat. I love seeing them stuff out in their backyard, but I know a lot of.
Not on the first location.
Hey, go ahead. I'll
Did we
take
have-
free bat house.
Did we have residents in those Purple Martin houses? Like, did people, like, not people, but did the birds come and get in them?
As far as I know, yes. We put one at Edgewood Park, and I want to say, where's the second one that we put in a few years ago? Might have been, it's either Brightenstein or Eisenhower on Robinson. It was Robinson.
Yeah.
That has to be on Robinson because I don't see them.
I think does the Portage Lake still do that where they go and feed the Purple Martins when they first come? Basically, they fling eggs at them. Have you ever heard of that before?
I've not heard of that.
We should do that here. I've always wanted to do
Throw eggs
it
at
because,
birds.
like, it gives them, for when they lay their eggs, it gives them, like, energy or.
Nutrients. to
Yeah,
lay their
I think they
eggs.
even put, like, egg shells in it so that it has the calcium. But I've always wanted to do that, so maybe we should just do it here.
Give me more information on that.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up again. It was years ago that I heard of it. I thought, oh my gosh, it sounds like so much fun. Yeah, you like fling it with the, you make them and then like, but a bunch of people come and just fling these eggs at these things. They like swoop and get them and stuff.
Give me more.
All right.
Hey, they are cool, so.
Well, give me more
I'm
information.
gonna write it down. I'm
We'll
gonna look it up
into
again.
Annual egg flinging day.
The only other thing, next week we'll have some additional budgets, clerk of courts, street department, and some other ones. But again, if you have any questions throughout the week, please send them our way. Any questions?
Several.
No, Jesus, come on.
Can you touch on the Hudson Run incident
yeah.
that happened earlier today that I got bombarded with and didn't even know anything about it?
Yep. So BPG is working with the city and the EPA to identify a wastewater leak. It was not a chemical leak, it was a wastewater leak. We were out there, there's no injuries, there's no contamination of any waterways or anything of that nature, especially drinking water. When I got out there, the EPA was already out there, our staff was out there. They closed the road because of where this line is. It's very close to the street, Hudson Run. And instead of just trying to close one lane of traffic, just close the whole thing off. We had an accident there not too long ago with a city employee. Instead of messing around, just close the whole thing, right? They can get in there, make the repair without watching their back and worrying about anything, and they can move forward. So again, it was not a chemical spill. It was a wastewater leak that had been leaching out. So everything is good. The repairs should be going on now. And I'm not sure, I haven't received notice yet that the street's back open, but, so. that's it.
Anything on a streets list yet?
So we're still working with our consultants, should be going to bid pretty soon. So again, we have a budget passed by council. We go by the estimates for streets and we try to get as many streets as possible. And then we have, if we have 20 streets that are going to be paved, we have triple that are alternates. So if we come in under budget, we can quickly grab streets to add in. last few years, we've been able to do that. So, not yet, but that should be going to bid here soon. Do we have an idea of what other cities have been receiving other bids? Yeah, I'm not aware of anyone that's gone out.
I'm just gonna throw my 2 cents in and hope that Worcester Road West from 31st to Flickinger gets done, or Krantz.
Yep.
Since we're gonna do all of Worcester Road, we should just do that little section also.
Yeah.
And then any update on Taylor Road? I've been up through there several different times and I never see anybody working.
So I believe it was Tuesday of last week, Mr. Shreve told me that there's about 20 to 30 more feet of line to install. That may have happened. And then they'll come in and resurface the road.
And then my last one. On the city website, you hit report a concern and you do a ticket. That ticket gets sent to, say it's a pothole request. And maybe a week goes by, you don't get a response, or you do get a response, but it's, I can't say what I want to say, but a week later it go by, the hole's not fixed, it's actually a water main break. When you hit add a comment, does that update to the person that it would go to?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'll have to look into that. I believe so.
Okay.
All right, any other questions?
That's it. I'm
All
done.
right, thank you.
All right, with nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at 8:21 PM.
Who's done?